All right, you guys, so in this video, we're going to take a look at Best Electronics, and we're going to do an unboxing of some parts that we recently purchased for an original Atari joystick. We'll take a step back and take a look at why we needed to purchase these items. Well, in a recent estate sale, or a couple of them, we purchased a number of Atari consoles, all of them being 2600s, but different variations of the 2600, and they all use those, original joysticks. The problem is, a number of those are not in the greatest shape, and it's pretty common if you find them. They're broken, the boots are torn up, whatever. I mean, the stuff's over 40 years old. A lot of them are, so you can't expect a whole lot. But anyhow, whenever we go to test these things out, and this has happened before, we got to do a lot of work to get these controllers and everything working okay. And I thought it'd be a good idea for us to restore a original Atari joystick to keep here, so that whenever we go to test these games and Atari consoles out, we've got a good working joystick to really test everything out and make sure it's working correctly. So I went online and I was looking around for a boot, because the boot on our joystick is a mess, and it looks like, I don't know, a dog or a kid or someone chewed on this thing. So I went online and I was looking around, and I found this website called Best Electronics. It came up on my Google search, but when I went to the website, there was a lot to take in, because the website really isn't a traditional website, I guess you could say. It's everything's like in a text list format. There's no good way to navigate through the website. It took me back to like the 1990s and some of those original websites you would see, and it just I didn't know really what was going on. But I found the boot that I was looking for, and it had a price there. I think it was like $4 or $5. It's no big deal. The problem was I didn't find any way to purchase it. Now, I did find an email and a phone number on there, so I thought, okay, tomorrow morning I'll give the guy a call, see what they say. So that's what I did. Next day came around, I gave him a call, and the gentleman was nice enough, no issues there. He's like, yeah, we've got these boots, we've got all kinds of parts, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, okay, well, I'd like to purchase this, but I can't find a way to do it on your website. And he's like, oh, we don't work like that. Instead, we prefer for our customers to call us, make sure that they're getting the parts they need, and then we'll ship it out. And he said, if all that you need is the boot, it's a $20 order minimum. So if you buy a couple things to get you to that $20 order, then at least you won't be just throwing money away. So I thought, okay, that's a good idea. And then he told me that they had this rebuild kit, which is a board and some other parts for that, and for the joystick itself, and then the boot separate. So I bought all that. It ended up being like 30-something bucks, not a big deal. But anyways, I ended up doing that. Now, when I was telling him that I wanted to buy these parts, he asked me, was this for yourself, or are you going to resell it? And I don't really understand the purpose of that question. I don't know if I was going to resell it, if he'd give me a better price, or what. I don't know. But I thought it was kind of interesting. We're not reselling it. We're going to keep this for ourselves. But I just thought that it was interesting that he would even mention that. So I don't know, take that into consideration if you're looking into it. He may ask you the same thing. Maybe ask him what the difference is. But another point to make is there's a ton of stuff on this website, and I ended up actually needing a knob for one of the paddles, and he sells those there. He sells all kinds of stuff, the little metal clips. I didn't know that until after I had ordered it, and the next day I tried to reach out to him to see if I could include it or just buy it, and I ended up having to leave a voicemail. He never called me back, so I don't know. And actually, before I purchased this, I'll take a step back here. I forgot to tell you that when I was going to buy the items, there's no way to check out on the website. And he told me, he said, well, you'll have to give me your credit card information. And, I was taken aback by this a little bit, because I'm like, okay, just so you know, our personal family, we have a business. It's an e-commerce business, and we don't keep people's credit card information. We go through a platform. All that information is only done at the time of the order. Nothing's saved. And knowing this, I'm like, well, what's this guy going to do? I mean, I don't know this business. I don't know him. I don't know what he's doing with my personal information. So I ended up not buying it right then, actually. I said, okay, let me think about it. And then I did some research online, and I found a lot of positive reviews of people purchasing items from him. So I thought, okay, well, it sounds like it's legitimate at least. So then I called him back. I ended up ordering the parts, and I got them 2 days later. So that worked out pretty good. I just think if you are going to look through this, do your due diligence. Look through the website, find all the parts that you want. That way, whenever you call them, if you can get a hold of them, you can go ahead and order everything you need at one time. Because like I said, I left a message for him. He won't call me back to get those other parts. I don't know what's going on. But for what it's worth, I was able to purchase the parts. I got them in 2 days later. And what we're going to do right now, actually, is we're going to unbox this, take a look at what's inside, and see how everything looks. And then we're going to restore this controller. So stay tuned for that, and we'll check it out in this episode. All right, guys, so here we got the box that we received from Best Electronics. This is exactly how it is. It hasn't been opened yet. All I did was remove the label. That's why this is like this, but this is how we got it. Here's the company information, along with their ridiculously long email address. You know, I had explained that it was a little bit odd the way that you order things from them, and I think this email here just kind of plays into that. It's definitely a different animal when it comes to dealing with this company. But we did get the products that we ordered, and it only took 2 days to get here. And what I think is interesting about this is you'll notice that they've got Atari branded tape on here. Even though Best Electronics is its own company, they do have Atari branded tape, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyhow, let's cut this open and see what's inside. Okay, we got peanuts. All right, so here's everything we got. Here's a note. Your Atari order was shipped using the new environmentally friendly biodegradable shipping peanuts. They are reusable, recyclable, made from 100% recycled content, and will biodegrade over a 1 to 5 year period. The Atari shipping tape is made from paper that is recyclable. Please recycle this Atari shipping box. Okay, and then we've got this paperwork here. Simply the best. Can't find that elusive bit for your ST? Andrew Wright talks to Atari Spare Parts Supremo Brad Coda of Best Electronics. Okay, so this is like a copied newspaper article, it looks like. There's a lot of information on here. We're not going to read through all this. myatari.net. I don't know, never went there, never checked it out. But here's the information if anyone does want to check it out. Okay. Okay, so here's a flyer with some different products and things. We've got the kit, I think, that we bought. And let's see. Well, there's a number of things on here. I'll just go through it slowly. So if you want to take a screenshot and look at any of this, you can. There we go. Okay. Looks like they've got a power supply options too here, which is neat. I didn't know that. Sometimes those are hard to come by. Okay, so that's the front. Nothing on the back. And then here we go. Here's their address, phone number, email again, if you need to get a hold of them. Let's just read this. This ought to be interesting. For the last 38 plus years in the Atari business, we have always managed to include complete current Atari game listing hardware flyers for the Atari 2600, 5200, 7800, Lynx, and Jaguar games we have in stock with each worldwide Atari order we ship out. But the last couple of years, we've been getting more and more busy at best, almost 7 days per week here, and have simply not had the time to keep all of our printed Atari game flyers current with best website dated game hardware listings. Also, the Atari game flyers were published on an old Atari ST desktop publishing software program that was not compatible with the best web software. So we would have to do an Atari game flyer update, sometimes 5 to 8 times a month, on the ST computer, and then a second update at the best website game listing page. So lately, some of the Atari dated game flyers that were included with worldwide Atari orders we have shipped out have been up to a year or more behind the same current Atari dated game listing at the best Atari website. So the complete current Atari game console game listings and Atari 8-bit computer software hardware we have in stock for the following Atari systems: Atari 2600, 7800, 5200, Lynx, 400, 800, 1200 XL, 65XE, 130XE, XE Game System computers, Atari Jaguar, and ST Games. Will now be only listed at the best website. So go to the best Atari website, click on the index site listing button, and then click on the Atari console games or Atari 8-bit computer software games listings. We will phase out the supply of already printed Atari game flyers. Interesting. Okay, here we go. Best Rev 10 All Atari Catalog Owners. Since the Best Rev 10 All Atari Catalog was first published, we have been maintaining the Rev 10 catalog addendums, updates on 2 different platforms, software programs that are not compatible for ease of interchanging data updates. So we would have to input changes in one software program, print it out, and do a second updates changes to the addendum at the Best website. The busier we get at Best Electronics, it was getting harder and harder to maintain and keep both version catalog addendums in sync and up to date. The last printed version of the Best Rev 10 catalog addendum supplied with all new Best Rev 10 catalogs was close to 9 months old. So in an effort to get Best Catalog owners the most current and up-to-date Best Rev 10 catalog addendum, all future catalog addendums will only be posted at Best website for quick and easy downloads. This will also save the 8 to 10 cases of paper to print out the Best catalog addendums only for an average year. If you would like to place a domestic or international Atari mail order, please email us for a PDF domestic or international best mail order form. Okay, so it sounds like, and I'm not up to date with what these guys do or have done, but it sounds like they used to release a catalog multiple times a year that had the different parts and games and things that they were still selling. Now they're just going to do it on their website. You know, I think that's a great idea. I'm surprised they didn't do that many years ago, because that's pretty much how everyone operates nowadays, and it's much easier to update. You don't have anytime you print a paper document out, it seems like it's obsolete once someone gets it in their hands. So that's it for this. Now let's take a look at this. So this is the repair kit for the joystick. We've got the new stick itself and the gold board. Okay. And then we also ordered us a new rubber boot. Now this isn't new old stock. All of this is a new equipment that they are manufacturing for older Atari systems, which I think is pretty neat. And I mean, it feels pretty good. I know that on the website they did state that the color of the black is a little bit duller than the other, but this is made to last longer than the original. Now let's take a look at what we're actually going to use this for. So here is our joystick that we're going to fix. There's nothing special about this thing. If you notice, it's been I don't know, it looks like a teething toy for a baby or something as far as this boot goes. It's all torn up. Even the top of the plastic here has been chewed on. So all this is going to get replaced, and the board as well. And the idea behind this build is we've been buying and selling a number of these Atari consoles, and I want us to have a good working joystick to be able to test the games out that we get. Some of these we get them in and they work okay, but they're not great. You'll get one position or another that just isn't working right, and that's the case with this thing. You can only get it to work right in left and down, I believe it is, or sorry, this way, left and down. The up and right just works when it wants to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these parts that we just purchased from Best Electronics. We're gonna disassemble this, clean it all up, replace the parts, put it back together, and then we're gonna test this thing out and see how it does. So stay tuned for the rest of the episode to see how we come out. All right, you guys, so you've seen us restore our joystick. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the inside of this. I actually took it back apart just to show you how this works, or how well it works from the inside. So let's turn our Atari on, and I've got Combat in here because it uses the joystick, and you have to use the button to fire as well, just so that we can see that work. So let's get this going here. And I'll try to hold my hand so you can see this. So push up. It works. Let's do up, right. Yep. So both of the left and right work. Everything works as it should, as we know it should anyways. Yep. Okay. Now let's test out our fire. Move up to where you can see the tank a little better. Okay. So our fire is working. All of our other buttons are working as well. Now one thing I want to point out that I like a lot about this board is, if you'll notice here, let's see if I can zoom in, where all your wires go, this board, I checked the measurements, it's identical to the original. It's got the same type of covering, everything on it is just like the original was. And the way these wires go on are the same as well. But one thing that's better about this than the original is each one of these little prongs where the wires go, there's actually the color of the wire labeled on the board itself. So it's very simple to know where the wires go. You've got 6 different wires, so the chances for error is pretty high if you didn't write down how they go first. And this takes out all those problems. You just slide them on each color to where it's labeled and you're good to go. Okay, you guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put this back together and test it while it's assembled and see what we think. All right, you guys, so I've came back because I am actually having an issue with this, and I don't have it together right now, but as far as moving the tank around, everything's fine. But the button does not work, and that's why I have this apart. What I did, I actually took this apart and put the original board back in, tested it out, and it fires fine. But not on here. I don't know why that is, but it's not working. I've screwed it back together, and no matter what I do, it doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess around with this for a little bit longer, because I know the board worked fine when this wasn't together and I pushed the button. There's something to do with the button not engaging enough to press down on that board, and I don't know why that's doing that. So I'm gonna mess around with this for a minute, and then I'll come back once hopefully I can figure out what's going on with this. All right, you guys, so I was able to get this working. I'll show you this really quick. Okay, so here we are with the same game, same joystick. I ended up switching this button out, but now it's working just fine. And the joystick works as it should. Now let's do a little deeper dive into what I changed, why I had to change it, or at least why I think I did, and we're going to do an overall review of the best electronics parts that we bought. Alright guys, so here we are. We've got our finished Atari 2600 joystick that we restored using the best electronics parts. I do have some thoughts on this, and overall I think everything's pretty good. The rubber boot, we'll just start with that since that's the first thing we can see here. The texture is a little different from the original. I think this has got a smoother finish, if you will. It's a softer rubber than the original was, and the color isn't quite as shiny as the original. Does that matter? To me, not really. I just wanted something to be able to get us one good working joystick, but it's, for what it is, I think it's pretty nice. It was definitely easier to install with this being more flexible and a softer rubber than the original, because whenever you have to push it around this ring, it's kind of like putting on a bicycle tire if you've ever done that before, and just getting it popped in and around here. It was very simple with this one. With the original ones, it's a little bit harder. The feel of it is fine. The only thing that my concern would be, because of the color, is that it's going to attract dust, and more so than the original. Will that happen? I don't know. But overall, I would say that the boot for the joystick is acceptable. It's very inexpensive. It's a way to make your joystick look nice again. Let's talk about the other parts. The plastic part, the inside of the joystick, we replaced it because the other one had been chewed on. It looked identical to the original one. All the dimensions, everything is the same. I don't have any concerns with that part. Now let's get into the board inside. What I like about the board is the fact that wherever you connect the connectors for the wire, everything is clearly labeled. It's very easy to understand where to put the original wires at. Not that it's really hard, but if for some reason your old one was broke or missing, or you just didn't know where to put the wires, it's all color coded and it's very easy to understand. So I think that was good. The joystick itself moved fine on the board, just like the original one would have, so no concerns there. The only problem that I ran into was with this guy right here, the button. Now what's interesting is I took the original button out and we cleaned and polished it, did everything to this controller, put it back together, and whenever we tried to play it with just the board itself, if you would push the board down, it would work fine. On combat, you could get the tank to fire fine. However, when I installed it in the controller and I pushed the button, nothing would happen. So then what I did was, I took the board out and I put the old board back in and pushed the button. Everything worked fine. So I was thinking, okay, there's for some reason the button is not engaging with that new board. So then what I did was I got another joystick that I had laying around. I took the button out of it and I tried it and it worked fine. Now, why is that? I don't know. What my suspicions are is that there's different variations of this joystick and the button itself is different. There's a little plastic piece in the middle of this button, and whenever you press down, that is what pushes down on the board. So what I'm assuming is that in these different versions, that little plastic piece may be just slightly longer in some of them than it is the other. And what that may do is it may not engage all the way on the board. Now, luckily for us, I've got many of these joysticks laying around. I was able to just rob the button off of one of them and get it to work fine. And this one was in pretty good shape, but I went ahead and polished it up and everything since we've got us a very nice looking joystick here that we've restored. But that would be my only concern, is if you purchase this kit like I did and you rebuild it and you can't get this to work, My guess is that the button itself may be different, and I would suggest either getting a different joystick and robbing a button and trying it, or reaching out to Best Electronics and see if they've got a button as well. Also, another thing to take into consideration, depending on how much this button's been used, maybe the one that I had was just kind of worn out. Although it did work on the original board, maybe it wasn't long enough to engage because it had just worn down over time. I don't know. But overall, everything's pretty good. Everything works fine, just like it should. This is a very nice looking joystick, as you can tell. No issues whatsoever. The parts from Best Electronic were not expensive. I got everything in 2 days. It was a very interesting process to deal with them. Their website is significantly outdated as far as just the format goes. I think they should spend a little bit of time or money redesigning that. But the website was interesting. Doing business with them is interesting. You have to call them, go through what you need, and go through that whole process. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it's different. So we were able to get what we needed. We got this fixed. You could do the same thing if you needed this. Best Electronics also has many other parts for other Atari systems, Atari home computers, you name it. They've got a bunch of stuff that you can buy. If you found this video at all interesting or helpful, please like, subscribe, and share, and make sure to turn on your notification bell for upcoming videos. And we will see you next time.